Hey guys, today we're going to be answering some of the questions from my Avoid the 30,000 Building Disaster here in the Philippines and the harsh realities of building in the Philippines. Some of your questions and comments and a lot of your concerns, and we're going to be addressing some of the biggest fears, the title and land, the legalities of owning land here in the Philippines and building, also some family issues. A lot of people are suggesting family might be moving in. Construction concerns. Is the quality of the construction going to be good enough? And how am I going to soundproof it? Also, we're going to talk about the bid for the construction project and the contract that we sign with the contractor. So why should we even build? Let me ask some of these questions and comments I got. Let me read these. One is from Kenny, the silver jewelry guy. Please make me understand, why are you guys building a house instead of buying a house that's already existing? Something where you don't have to, go through the headaches of getting the title and everything. You do still have to go through the headaches of the title. Buying something that's already existing, one, is very costly. It costs a lot more than building from the ground up. Plus, you don't know what's inside the wall. A lot of guys talk about the cinder blocks, the hollow blocks that we use, that they should be a certain quality, and the rebar, it should be a certain size. Well, how can you see that? The house is already built. You're going with somebody else's specs, and you're hoping that the house that they built meets the quality that you want. For me, the money involved, you can buy a pre-existing house already, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, really nice house. You're going to pay 6, 7, 8 million. You can go ahead and buy an expensive piece of property and build your own house for 4 million pesos and have a beautiful house the way you want it. So cost is one, and two, getting what you want out of life. James asked me, hey, Mike, I thought you moved to the Philippines to retire and have a quiet life. Look at you now. You're building. What's going on? Well, you need to stay busy. Here in the Philippines, boredom can set in. I want a place to live. I'm going to live here forever until my last breath. And I want a place that I can call my own. When I buy something, I can put it in the house and it's mine. I don't have to move every 6 months, once a year, to a different island, a different rental unit. You can see a lot of people who have issues when they're moving from one place to another. The school system's not good enough. It's not close enough to, shopping and the malls and banking, good restaurants. I have decided I'm going to make roots here. I'm going to have a place that I can call my own, and I'm going to buy me that big chair I want to sit in, that big lazy boy, comfortable chair I can sit in and watch the Ohio State games. I just want something that's mine. And also, as time goes by, I'm 71 right now. When I'm 76, 77, I won't have rent to pay. So I can give up everything. If my Social Security gets cut, I'm living cheap. I'm going to lower my cost of living. There's a lot of reasons for it. It's not for everyone, but it is for me. So let's talk about construction quality and design. Rob asks, and who will check on the workmanship? Lowest prices might mean low durability. Well, I'm the Q&A inspector. That's my job, to make sure they're using the right kind of quality products, the right type of construction. The hollow block, let me make sure the hollow block is good. They're using the right diameter rebar. They're using the right mix of concrete. When they go to buy the windows and the doors, that's my job. In the bid is a price for the windows. For an example, 7,000 pesos per window is the bid price. If I find better windows that I like and they're 8,000 or 9,000, I have to come up with the difference. But if I find them cheaper, then that gets deducted. So the quality is all up to me. I am the one deciding on the quality of the windows, on the quality of the doors, and watching the workers. I'm not going to be here 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. There's no way. Janet will come down here every once in a while. I'll drive right by. We're 15 minutes from our house to come check it out. But I'm not interested in the day-to-day working. I don't care if somebody is working or they're on break. I'm paying a fixed price for everything. My labor is fixed. So if it takes longer, it takes longer. If it takes less time, good for the contractor. He's going to save money. There's a reason why I have a contract that The payments are staggered. It gives him an incentive to get done sooner, and it also protects me. Gary asks, has anybody noticed the sloppy mortar work on the house that's being built across the street? Well, I asked the contractor about that, and I went over there today. They cut that off. They smoothed that all out before they put the thin set on. So all that is cleaned up after, because they're on a time schedule. When they're laying the concrete, they only have so much time before it dries. So they got to get the cinder block, the hollow block up and going. They have to keep working before the concrete sets. And then later they come back and clean that off. Somebody asked if I took typhoons into consideration. Well, let me ask you, typhoons and earthquakes. I have taken both into consideration. Here in Dumaguete, they're not much of a problem. We have a small shake from time to time. Typhoon-wise, I've been here since May of 2022, and no typhoon has hit. The last big typhoon was Odetta, which really devastated a lot of the island, not so much here in Dumaguete. I think the roof is always something of jeopardy in a typhoon, but where we are located, being that we're single story and we're up the mountain a ways, if a typhoon is strong enough to hit us and knock the walls down, everybody's going to be devastated. So yes, I've taken into consideration on the windows and the doors. I'm buying a higher quality window and door, not for typhoon proofing, but for soundproofing. And Swiss just follows that up with, what about fireproof and soundproofing? Well, the center divider wall that's going between the two units is going to be a thicker hollow block. It's going to be 6-inch thick, and it's going to have 1-inch thick thin set on each side. So it's going to be 8 inches thick, solid concrete, and that's going to keep the sound down. Also, the windows, like I said, are double paned, so they're going to be very soundproof. The house I live in right now, we're right on the highway. They have double pane windows, and I don't hear the traffic going by. So soundproofing and fireproofing. Most of the house, it's single story, and it's mostly concrete. AG is asking me, is the cost that I'm quoting 1.8 million pesos, is that for the duplex 2 studio units side by side, or is that for the house also? No, that's just for the 100 square meter duplex. It's going to have 2 kitchens, 2 bathrooms, 2 of everything. That's what the 1.8 is buying me. Alan asked a very interesting question. How are you going to fit 2 adults and 1 child in a 500 square foot unit? Wow. With no bedrooms, no walls. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough one. PJ's 13 years old now, and he goes to school for most of the day. He leaves about 7:30 in the morning. He gets back between 5 and 6 p.m. in the evening. I'm going to have to learn to give him some space. This property is big. He's going to have plenty of area to go and sit on the kubo. And if no one's in the other unit, I might let him use that as a private area. But we'll make a nice private area for him. We'll build some temporary walls so he has an area that's private. He can get on his laptop, he can get on his tablet and talk to his friends. We'll do the best we can, but it's a short term. It's going to be for less than 1 year. Just going to have to live with it, grin and bear it. You know, we're building, and it's going to be someday his home. So he doesn't see a problem with that yet. We don't know until we move in, but Jan and I have talked about it. We don't foresee it being a problem. Salvador says that we should build a 1-bedroom unit instead of a studio. He says it'll be more efficient. Well, a wall around the bedroom. I've seen a lot of these apartments that are 40 to 50 square meters, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. There's no living room. The living room is so small and the kitchen is so tiny. I like the idea of an open space. What I'm going to have is a curtain that goes around the bedroom. We'll have a track in the ceiling so they can pull the curtain all the way around if they want, or they can leave it open. I'm more interested in giving the renter, when they get here, a more comfortable living experience with the living room and the kitchen. I want to put a nice sofa in there. I want to put a nice lounge chair in there. I'm going to put a 55-inch TV up on the wall. I'm going to put a desk in there so they can do their work. This place is not so much for, a great bedroom. This is the place for a great living experience. And remember, most of my renters are going to be short-term renters. I'm not looking to have people come here and sign a 2, 5, or 15-year contract. I hear some people say they're signing now. This is going to be a month-to-month, an Airbnb type living situation, unless we find the right people. Nothing's written in stone yet. And Gregory asked, have I ever seen anybody build a round house, a circular house? He says he understands that it stands up better to typhoons. I have yet to see that here in the Philippines. I'm sure there are some places like that, but if the wind's bad, it's going to take the roof off. The roof is the number one problem in a typhoon. Most of the roofs come down and trees fall, and they fall on the roof. So the roof is something that will get damaged in a very bad typhoon. So now, guys, some of your biggest fears are legal and title issues. Why would you start construction without having the title completely in your name? Well, here in the Philippines, the title is a tough thing. It takes time to transfer title. Sometimes it takes years. But what you can get is called a deed of absolute sale. And I'm going to read to you what that is here. A deed of absolute sale is a legal document that transfers full ownership of a property from the seller to the buyer. In the Philippines, this is the main document used when selling real estate, land, house, condo, etc. Once both parties sign it and payment is made, the buyer is considered the new owner. But the title still has to be transferred officially at the Register of Deeds. Now, this is what we have. Many people have that. And you own the property. You make the down payment. You signed all the documents. And you're just waiting for the title work to go through. Me, I staggered the payment. A lot of people pay it all up front. But I staggered mine knowing that the owners aren't close by. They live up in Manila. And some days I'm going to need signatures or for them to come to town to push the process along. If they have all their money, they're in no hurry to do anything. There's no reward for them. They already have the money. In my situation, for them to get more money, they have to participate in the steps involved. And that participation helps. You know, they go down to the BIR and complain a little bit, not just some foreigner. So it helps that you still hold some money back, keep everybody motivated to get the deal done. But once you sign the contract and you have deed of absolute sales, you're good to go. You can go ahead and build, and it's your property. This property is owned by me and Janet right now. Michael says fraud is rampant. He said his friend lost everything, even though they had the title completely researched and all the paperwork done. They found out it was a fraud title, and they didn't get ownership of the property, and they lost everything. That's hard for me to believe. If you're using a good attorney, you're contacting the barangay captain, the local municipality. They know who owns everything here. Copies of people's ID. A good lawyer is going to find out for sure who owns that property. So you have to be careful. Do your due diligence. Buy land from people that you can trust. When Janet and I found this land, this family that owns this property, they're related to Janet's father. Even though it's not a close relationship anymore, it still has ties, and there is a bond between families. People don't cheat. I feel very comfortable here buying this property. Does the deed of absolute sale protect you, Mike? Yes, on that is my wife's name and my name as the husband. And then we have a will. The will is 50-50. Everything we own, Janet gets everything I have, and I get everything Janet has. Because we have the will, it doesn't go to other family members or anything. It comes to me. And to address the problem of title, are you protected? Yes, you are. If for some unforeseen reason, heaven forbid, I lost Janet, I still own this property. I can never change the title to have just my name on it. I could put PJ's name on there. I could put Janet's sister's. I could just leave it as it is and live on it until I pass, and then pass the title on to the proper heirs. But can I put that in my name? Never. But Janet, if we break up, she can't sell the property without me getting my money. It's 50-50 split. Same thing with if I pass, Janet gets the whole thing. But if she passes, I have the right to sell the property and recoup my money. Why invest money in a project you'll never reap any rewards? You know, they ask about the return on investment. This is not a return on investment. This is a losing proposition. The thing is, I'm going to own this. and Janet's going to own this. We're going to have a place to live. So when I plant a tree or Janet plants some plants here, those are ours. On the rental property, we can't do that. I want to buy some new furniture. I can't do that because I live in a rented house that came furnished. I can't take their furniture and just put it out on the street or put it out in the elements. So I'm stuck with what's there and living in a very crowded situation. When we move, we'll buy the stove that we want. We'll have the refrigerator that we want, and we'll never have to buy another one. All these things will last many years. TVs, a nice couch, a nice place to sit, a nice bed. All these things, when I buy them, I own them. When you're renting and you say to yourself, man, I'd like to have a nice, comfortable couch, and you go to buy that, well, you're renting there. Now your lease is up. You either have to take it with you, or if you're going to another island, you're going to ship all that stuff. So ownership gives you the right to enjoy your life better. My freedom day is the day I get to sit on my recliner and push that arm back and put my feet up and watch an Ohio State football game. That is going to be the enjoyment that I get by ownership here in the Philippines. So let's address family and relationship concerns. John says I should prepare for her family to move in with us. Well, her family hasn't moved in with us yet. We're going on 3 years together. We lived in a 4-bedroom house prior to the house we're in now. We're in a 2-bedroom house. Her family has never come over to sleep, to eat uninvited. Nobody comes knocking at my door without a reason other than bring us papayas or mangoes or whatever they harvested that week. Our family is good. The house they have on their property is a nice house. Why do they want to leave to come live with me? That's their house. That's their property. The children that live there still with the mama, they take care of it. You know, they fix the roof, they fix the gate, they take care of the dogs and the chickens. They're living a happy life. They have, a television. They're receiving all the channels. And, they're living the life they want. They have a nice outdoor kitchen. The grandkids come over there. It's just a good setup for them. No one wants to come live with a grouchy old man. Is the family going to want to live in the rental unit? I don't think so. There might be times when we invite somebody to stay with us for a little while. Maybe they're having some sort of problem, or maybe the teenager cousins might want to come stay for a few days or a weekend. That's always doable. If we have a bed somewhere and somebody wants to stay in it, they're more than welcome. But it's not the rule. That is far more the exception. Landmine says, hey, Mike, you don't have a clue. Everything is in your wife's name. No, nothing's just in Janet's name. Everything's in joint name. The contracts we sign, we both sign. The lease at the house that we're renting, we both sign. The land, we're both in the contract. On the deed of absolute sale, we're both mentioned. There is nothing that is Janet only. The only way this happens, guys, is if you're not married. If you try to do a project like this and you're not married, yes, everything is in her name. You're not the husband. You can't be put on the title as a boyfriend. You got to be put on the title as a spouse, a husband, or a wife. So for those of you coming over here buying land with a girlfriend thinking you're going to get married later, if she doesn't want to put your name on the title, then it's not going to happen. You have to be secure in your relationship before you start something like this. This is not for everyone. This is the exception. And you see more and more of this happening in Dumaguete because Dumaguete is a retirement community. It's a place where people come to live. This is not a place where people come to drink late at night, go girl chasing, go to all the bars, seeing how many girls they can date in a week. This is where guys come to settle down. They find their wife, they find their girlfriend, and then they say, let's go check out Dumaguete. And it's a beautiful place to retire. It's a beautiful place to live out your life. Plenty of access. We've talked about this many times. The airports, the ferries, so easy to get anywhere in the Philippines from Dumaguete. And Matt, he asked the question I just answered. Do you trust your wife? Absolutely. I trust Janet more than I trust anybody else in this world. Janet has had more money in her purse walking around than a lot of you guys come over here with. And I trusted her to come home with it and put it where it belonged. I trusted her to make the bank deposits. I trusted her to pay the bills. And I'm not talking about a 4,000 peso electric bill. When we bought the land, Janet had to go to the bank, had to go get 850,000 pesos. Go to the attorney's office and make the payment. I wasn't there that day. I trusted her to do all that. No problem. Janet is the light of my life. And if you're looking for a reason to, get on the wagon of blaming Janet for me working like a slave, this is my goal. This has always been my goal. If I stayed single, I was never going to do this. But I knew if I married somebody and after a couple of years of marriage and everything working out, I was going to do something of this nature. And what about all you guys who are divorced in the U.S.? How many of you gave up your house, your car, part of your bank account to your ex-wife? So you can trust somebody in the beginning. Do you trust them in the end? I trust Janet explicitly to the end. What about the hollow block quality? Do you trust that? The hollow block, you can get that in different quality, and it's usually how many blocks they can make per bag of cement. I've seen some places that will make 100 blocks per bag. I don't want that stuff. Our contract is 30 to 40 blocks per bag, and that gives you a pretty strong hollow block. That's a good mixture. You have to stay on top of that. People all the way down the line are going to try and take shortcuts. And what you got to do is you got to check it when deliveries are made. Grab a couple blocks, test them, try to break them, see if they break too easy, if they crumble in your hands, and then you have a problem. Don't be afraid to tell your contractor, hey, this is no good. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid because I have payments coming up later in the build that if I'm not satisfied, we're at a standstill and no more money's coming in until I'm satisfied. I have a good attorney who's going to protect me in everything I do. What about the septic and the water system? Well, the septic here is a 4-chamber unit. It has the first chamber. This is where the solid waste goes. It has a concrete bottom, and then it flows into a second chamber with a concrete bottom. Go into the third chamber. This stuff is going there as your gray water, and that will go in. And the last chamber is into the dirt. So the water, the sediment will settle, and then we'll have somebody come and pump it out every now and then, whenever needed. But that's the way they build them here. Four stages to the septic tank here. And water, you guys didn't see the video. I'll leave a link down below about this video. And also, I'll pin it to the comment section. How we got our water here. We have Valencia City water here. We have a meter right outside our gate. And we also have a spigot and hose here. We had to go get the water permits. We got that about 6-8 weeks ago. And then we had to pay somebody to hook it all up for us. It's about a quarter mile away from the main road and the main connection. But they run that through. We got a steel pipe, a 10-foot pipe that the hose goes through. And that's at the end of the road. When they get ready to concrete the road over, they'll bury that and it'll save the water line from being broken. But our meter is right here at the gate. If there's a break prior to the meter, we have to fix it. But we're not going to get charged for that water. And the water here in Valencia comes from the river. We're going to have to put a couple tanks on the property to build the pressure. We have good pressure here, but we don't have good enough pressure. And we'll put a pressure tank and a couple holding tanks here on the property for water. Again, Mr. Rizzo asks, how did you decide on the design? Well, Jan and I lived in a studio unit up in Cebu. It was 25 square meters. It was okay, but it was too small. Now, if I add 25 more meters to that, double the size, it's plenty of room. It's plenty of room. Plus with the outdoors, you live in a condo unit, you open your door, you're in the hallway. Here, you're going to open your door, you're going to have a little porch to sit on. You're going to have some greenery. You can come sit in this cubo. It's my design. As I looked at apartments that Jan and I filmed on Dumagetti Rental, a lot of these apartments are cramped. They have a bedroom, they have a kitchen, and the living space is so small. I want a large space for a nice sofa and a nice chair and a 55-inch TV on the wall. People need to be comfortable. People will pay for comfort, and that's what I'm looking for. A quality place to live, quality place to rent when you come here to visit Valencia and Dumagetti. And Andrew, my friend from Ohio, go Bucks. This should be interesting. This is going to be an interesting project. It's going to start, first cruise coming on site August 4th. Our contractor is going up to Manila at the end of the month. He had open heart surgery, and he's going to get everything checked. It's his yearly checkup. And when he gets back on August 1st, which is a Friday, we're going to start work on the Monday, which is August 4th. And we'll just start working away. I'll sit in this Kubo and we'll do some filming and talk about it. But now let's talk about the construction bid and the contract. I've reached out to my attorney. I've taken the construction bid the contractor gave me, and I wanted to put in the contract a few things. I want to notarize the bid that this contract is for the work quoted in the bid. And also I want to have them signed something where the drawings that I gave him, he's going to be building it to this drawing. And that should have me completely covered. Plus, when I exchange money, just like I tell everybody in any transaction, I'm doing it in the attorney's office. I'm going to get documentation of the money received, going to get copies of his ID, his business license, and all this stuff that I need to protect myself. And we have witnesses that he received the money. If you just do a handshake and hand somebody some money in a coffee shop or on a construction site, what witnesses do you have that you gave him that money? What do you have? You have nothing. Philippine law is tough. It's hard to get your money back if you've been scammed. But the thing is, you got to do as much as you can, your due diligence. The more people you see in contact here, more people signing that they've witnessed this transaction, notarized letters. And the big advantage I think I'm having with a Filipino contractor is he lives here. His family house is in Dumaguete. He has family here. He is building a business. He doesn't want to be the guy that's ripping people off. He is not looking to scam anybody. He wants to build a good business, save face, be a productive member of the community and make his family proud. And that's what I like here. If you use a foreigner, and a lot of good foreigners are contractors here, a lot of them are. But what stops somebody from having a bad turn of luck, getting on a plane and leaving town with your money? Nothing. At least with the Filipino, he lives here. He has a house here. He's giving up a lot more than the couple 100,000 pesos that he's going to make off of me. And in the construction bid, the bid is broken down into labor and itemized. It's itemized each way. The septic is this much in material and X amount in labor. And as we go down, the walls, the roof. Now, say I want a different style of roof. I want a more expensive roof. Well, I have to pay the difference of the allotted amount of money for the materials of the roof. The biggest thing coming up that I know is going to be a change in the contract are the windows. He quoted single pane windows with reflective glass, so the sun doesn't shine in so bright. I want double pane windows, and they're more expensive. So that $7,200 he has budgeted for each window is going to go up. As I find the windows I want, I have to pay the difference. When we go to do the doors, if I find doors that are cheaper than the ones he quoted me, and they fit what I want, then I'm going to pay less. We're going to deduct that from the contract. So the labor is set. It's X amount of labor to install the door, X amount of labor to install the windows. The only thing that is changeable is the cost of material as I change. The same thing with the tile and the cabinetry and the bathroom fixtures and the kitchen fixtures. All these things that are included, if I want an improvement, an upgrade, I have to pay for that. If it's a downgrade, I can deduct from that. And again, people are asking about the tiles. Don't let them buy cheap stuff. We pick out the tiles. We pick out the doors. We pick out the cabinets. We have a budget to stay in, and we try to be under, and if we go over, we'll pay for that. That's what that bid is there. Now, as for the electricity, we're going to have 2 different panels. We're going to have a separate meter for each unit. And at the end of the contract, he has to get us an occupancy permit. This comes from the city and the barangay saying, yes, the construction is done. People can live here. The quality is good enough for people to live here. And then 30 days after that is when we make the final payment. I don't need to wait a year. Like some people say, you should wait a year before the final payment. I'm not going to handcuff anybody on the money. If you trust somebody enough to build it, you should be able to trust them enough to come back and fix it. and I'm sure he will. He's got a lot of work going on right now, and I'll interview him here in the next couple weeks, probably just before he goes up to Manila for his checkup. Guys, I'm going to leave a link to that first video I did about how to avoid the $30,000 disaster in building in the Philippines. I'll have that linked in the comment section also. And at the end screen, at the end of the video, which is coming right now, this video might be something you want to watch. Until next time.